Among the most contentious and expensive races in the country is the one between incumbent Democratic U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown and his Republican challenger Bernie Moreno. To talk about this contest, we're joined by our friend, longtime political reporter and managing editor of Signal Cleveland, Mark Naymik. Mark, it's always good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Sherrod Brown, a Democrat running for Senate in a presidential election year in a red state. How tough is it going to be for him?
Well, this is a question we put to our reporter, Nick Costell, who recently went out on the campaign trail to explore, can he win in really a Trump state? What we found is that he is specifically targeting, those diehard Democrats in places like Cleveland, right? These are people very excited about what's happening with Kamala Harris on top of the ticket. But then Brown is spending time, of course, in places like Belmont County on the West Virginia border, Trumbull County, Mahoney County, Lorain County, and there he's talking very much about working class issues, the things that appeal to those Democrats that have drifted over to the Trump people. Trade, standing up to China. That is very much the dynamic playing out on that campaign trail, and he's not in any hurry to be seen with the top of his own ticket.
I was going to ask you about that, a cross appeal that we're talking about that Brown has had. We're seeing it this year. You say we saw it 6 years ago. How is Bernie Moreno dealing with that?
Well, he's going to do everything, as you're seeing on the ads on this station, to paint him as the liberal, a bright blue color. And they're attacking along the lines of that transgender issue, which transgendered rights poll negatively both among Democrats and Republicans. So he's targeting that. Everything on immigration is on the table. IdeaStream, WKYC, and Signal recently did a poll looking at issues that are playing in, and immigration was up there. Obviously, the economy, the cost of groceries, but transgendered issues rights issues were also playing, and you're seeing it reflected in the ads because they know that's what people are hitting.
This race, as we said, the most expensive Senate race in the country. They've spent $400 million on this race so far. I think I read about $70 million will be spent between now and Election Day. What are the polls saying at this point?
Yeah, I've looked at a lot of the reputable polls and looking at the averages. So Brown maintains a 2 to 3 point advantage there. Neither candidate's really popping above 50%, so some support is soft. But Brown's lead may be narrow, but in a state where President Trump is anywhere from 5 to 11 points up in some of these polls, that shows that cross appeal is still there, but Bernie Moreno is nipping on the heels.
Yeah, I got here in 2012, and you could still call Ohio a swing state back then. Are you surprised as someone who's watched this for decades at how quickly this has become a red state?
Yeah, we were the bellwether state. We were the predictor of presidents up until 2012, if I'm getting the math right. We started to break there, and ever since, the worker issues have played front and center. That union folks used to support Democrats wholeheartedly. Now you have maybe the head of a union supporting the Democrats, but the workers themselves are torn, both along social issues and worker issues. They've definitely, there's been a message that former President Trump was very successful in his first election, convincing people to come aboard.
You're going to be with us every week. We'll talk congressional races next time.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with that. There are some races there that still matter in the country's race for control of Congress.
That's right. Mark Naymik, as always, thanks so much.
Thank you.